28 липня починаємо.
It's July 28th, Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform starts its operation today. My name is Svetlana Shaparenko, and now we will be talking about the situation in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Our guest today is Oleh Korikov, active chairman, chief state inspector for nuclear and radiation safety of Ukraine. Mr. Oleh, good morning. Good morning, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. We know that the occupiers switched the reactor number 4 of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to hot shutdown mode. In your opinion, why have they done so? Thank you for this question. For the time being, in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the reactor number 4 is operating in hot shutdown mode. The reactor number 5 is cooling down. The rest of the reactors are in idle mode. The reactor number 4 was switched to hot shutdown mode, contrary to the requirements of the license of the State Inspectorate for Nuclear and Radiation Safety of Ukraine, which contemplates the cold idle for all of the reactors. And given the conditions when Kakhovka reservoir has disappeared due to the unstable condition in the power grid of Ukraine, due to the absence of the highly qualified personnel available at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and in the absence of repairs, the cold idle is the most safe and optimal condition of the nuclear reactor. The occupiers, though, explain the switch of the reactor number 4 by the necessity to get vapor to dispose of the nuclear waste. But in the mode of hot shutdown, the nuclear waste is being generated, which then generates the vapor, and we end up in a closed circle, so to say. Everybody knows those facts, and the danger is in improper maintenance and repair of the reactors. So the repairs are not being made in a timely manner, along with the other important safety systems like vapor generators and others. The occupiers, they don't have spare parts since the equipment is manufactured in Ukraine. The occupiers lack necessary skills because it's the Ukrainian personnel who was working on that equipment, and now they refuse to cooperate with the occupiers. And there's yet more reasons why it's operating in a dangerous mode. So we know that before the reactor was switched into hot shutdown mode, all of the switches were done only by the Russian administration, and the Ukrainians again refused to cooperate, and it was done by the personnel of Rosatom, the employees of which were involved in the operation of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So this is the information available, and the condition of hot shutdown contradicts the requirements of the license to the basic standards of IAEA and has nothing in common with adhering to the safety and security rules in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So what are the threats of such actions of the occupiers, and what is the worst case scenario? Well, look, timely maintenance and repair of the equipment is fulfilled to make sure that the requirements and the standards of safety and security are complied with. So it's done to contemplate safe and secure operation of the systems, or in case of any unstandard situation, under condition of which those systems could properly react. So in case of emergency, there are safety systems of active and passive nature, which are supposed to localize the emergency at least, or otherwise to prevent it. For the time being, in absence of proper maintenance and repairs, we cannot be sure that all those systems would react as per the regulations, as per the standards. And secondly, we have irresponsible and unpredictably acting personnel operating in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. I mean the personnel brought by the occupiers. So they pose yet another big risk. Well, and generally the presence of unauthorized personnel in nuclear power plant poses a risk first of all. And we are facing this risk from the very first day the nuclear power plant was captured, because the safety standards contemplate that is the operator who controls access to the power plant to make sure that only the personnel which is authorized to safely operate the plant could have access. Now the access is controlled by the occupiers, and at their own discretion they provide such access to those they deem necessary. Thus, the territory of nuclear power plant was transformed by the occupiers into a military base. There are weapons, explosives, ammunition, military vehicles, and military personnel present in the nuclear power plant, which has nothing to do with compliance with the safety and security standards. Lately, we have gotten information from IAEA, whose representatives stay in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on a permanent basis, that they have identified their mines there, that there are explosions heard around the area of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. On the 24th, 25th of July, we were getting such reports, and Rafael Mariano Grossi, the head of IAEA, made a statement that mining contradicts the IAEA safety and security standards. Well, it's a fact. At the same time, the occupiers do not provide access to all of the facilities for the IAEA representatives, and when they ask to inspect the trucks that are staying in the machine halls 1, 2, and 4, they are not being allowed to do so. Well, generally, permanent mission of the IAEA exercises some pressure on the occupiers, because they are not used to work under conditions of monitoring. Obviously, they have something to hide. And our international partners, along with the IAEA, insist on full access to make sure IAEA can see the full and real picture, to evaluate it for its compliance with the international safety standards, and to make relevant statement. However, such access is not being provided so far, and IAEA respectively continues to expect to get such access. Thank you, but according to your estimates, how far are we from the worst case scenario, say on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say that the risk of emergencies is quite high. Because again, the nuclear power plant is transformed into a military base with explosives and vehicles. The basic principles of safety are not adhered to. The decisions of the safety and security regulator, the enemy fulfills illegal modifications. There is no proper number of qualified personnel, there is no proper maintenance and repairs, there is no reliable electric power supply, there is no source or reliable source of water supply. The system of emergency actions is in fact destroyed because the crisis centers, both internal and external, do not operate. The system of monitoring is switched off. The occupiers disconnected the system that sends the indicators live to IAEA, and now they send those indicators to the main office of IAEA in manual mode. I mean the indicators of the monitoring system, which are then added to the system of nuclear and radiation monitoring of IAEA, again manually by their employees. Ukraine, as a member of international nuclear community, is supposed to report immediately on any emergency or on any situation that may result in emission of radioactive substances, and to make sure we comply with all of the standards. Due to the occupation and illegal activities of the Russian Federation in the facilities of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, we are unable to fully comply with the Convention on Nuclear Emergency Notifications. We warned IAEA about that to exercise pressure on the occupier to reestablish the data transfer from the monitoring system of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, but the operation of this system is not yet resumed, which results in growing the risks in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and our opportunities as the operating organizations are opportunities to react to the probable emergency are minimal now. So talking about the detonation of Kakhovka Dam, are there enough resources now for cooling of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant reactors? Thank you very much. Well, as I have already mentioned, in the absence of Kakhovka reservoir, switching of all of the reactors to the cold idle mode is the safest option. Since all those reactors do not work to generate electricity, residual thermal emissions are at minimal level, and since in the cooling pool of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant there is still a necessary amount of water being kept, we may say that the nuclear power plant can continue its operation for a couple of months without damaging of the active zone of the reactor. Should it be done by a responsible and qualified and authorized management, which unfortunately is not the case now. So now one of the reactors is in hot shutdown mode and the coolant requirements have grown. Yes, that's right. Previously it was reactor number 5 that was in hot shutdown mode. Now it's reactor number 4, which results in additional spending of water resources to cool down the reactor number 5. So it increases the demand, but even given such conditions, Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is equipped with other systems that can supply water resources, and under that condition it can be operated for quite a long period without Kakhovka reservoir. So you said 2 months in cold idle mode, but what is this period now? Now that there are other options available for the supply of water, so we estimate this term to be at least 2 months. Thank you very much. Do we know what is the situation with the Ukrainian personnel staying at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant? Thank you for this question. The Ukrainian personnel is under insane pressure. Ukrainian personnel who refuse to cooperate with the occupiers in the area of heating of reactor number 4 experiences pressure. The personnel that refuse to get Russian passports, they are being taken for interviews by the occupiers. They are being pressed, the family members are being pressed on, and there was even an article in an international media that even the children are being deported and many other things are happening. So the situation with the personnel is quite difficult. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, do we have questions from on the floor? Good morning, Yana Koloda, Ukrinform. My question is whether Ukraine is going to send a formal note of protest to IAEA regarding the situation with the reactor 4. Well, the State Inspectorate for Nuclear and Radiation Safety has prepared and sent all of the necessary documents. It's a matter of diplomatic nature. Probably you have been under-informed, but all of the necessary documents were already sent to Vienna and all other organizations. Thank you very much, Mr. Oleh, for your comprehensive answers. I'm reminding you, joining us was Oleh Korikov, active chairman, chief state inspector for nuclear and radiation safety of Ukraine, and we will continue talking about the situation in Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and Zaporizhzhia region with the military governor of Zaporizhzhia region. And at 11 o'clock we will have a briefing entitled Olenivka Impunity Encouragement of Terrorism, devoted to the last year's terroristic act in Olenivka detention facility.